Okay, good afternoon and welcome to our September 10th lunchtime community update. For those of you that have not joined us in the past, you can feel free to comment or ask questions. We have individuals monitoring that. We will not take an opportunity at the end to respond to those, but if we have questions that seem to appear multiple times, we'll put those on our FAQ on the website. But I hope everybody feels the same way, that we've had a great week of school this week. We were able to welcome our students back in our buildings as part of our transition week. We hope that your students are energized to be face-to-face with their teachers and their friends. And we know that our teachers are certainly very happy and very excited and very MISD proud to be with their students in person. As you may know, on Monday, all of our face-to-face learners will be together. So next Monday, the 14th, all students who chose to be face-to-face will be on our campuses. So we hope that you will continue to share your school pictures with your students and utilize the hashtag MISD Proud. I know many of you have been doing that, and we've been checking those, looking at that on social media, whether it's Facebook or Twitter. So please continue to do that as we celebrate the great things happening in MISD through our hashtag MISD Proud. Today, our update is going to have a little bit of a different focus than what it's been the past several weeks. As you may know, we believe in educating the whole child. And so as students return back to their school buildings, we recognize that it's been 6 months, which is hard to believe, 6 months since they've walked their school buildings, and everything looks very different this year in terms of the safety protocols and things that we've put in place. I know that they've seen a little bit of that this week, but we do know that it can be hard adjusting to the new schedules. It can be hard with some of the challenges they're facing with friends and family, in some cases maybe even diagnosed with COVID. So in an effort to share with you the types of training that our teachers and counselors have experienced this summer, as well as to assist you in being knowledgeable about what signs to look for, I've invited Becky Wigginton, our Director of Counseling Services, to join me today. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Wigginton to talk to you about a few items just to be aware of with your child. So Ms. Wigginton, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Dr. Ledbetter. As Dr. Ledbetter mentioned, we know that the disruption of COVID-19 has had a major impact on our students and our staff. We are in the midst of experiencing something that is ongoing, and that has created some challenges. So balancing the physical health safety needs of our students, the academic development needs, and the social emotional needs of our students is our top priority. When we talk about a trauma event, sometimes that word might catch individuals off guard, but trauma arises from an inescapable, stressful event that overwhelms an individual's coping mechanisms. And so when we're talking about experiencing and coping with an ongoing global pandemic, that can often be traumatic and presents challenges as we welcome our students back to school. As Dr. Ledbetter mentioned, it's been 6 months, and we do not know all the things that our students have experienced while they have been away. School staff can help reduce the effects of traumatic and chronic stress experiences on children by creating trauma-informed classroom environments, recognizing trauma responses, and referring students to mental health professionals as necessary. In order to meet the social and emotional needs of our students, professional learning opportunities and trauma-informed practices in social and emotional learning were provided to our MISD staff over the summer and during our back-to-school professional development. We wanted to equip our MISD teachers with all the necessary tools for our students when they came back to us face-to-face or virtual. So our MISD teachers were offered trauma-informed practices and social and emotional learning tools for the classroom during our Empowered Summer Academies. In addition, every MISD staff member completed an evidence-based trauma-informed practice training online. And then during new teacher orientation, our new teachers went through an in-depth training utilizing the trust-based relational interventional classroom model. And finally, our MISD counselors conducted a trauma-informed and social emotional learning training with each of their campus teachers to take a deeper look at strategies to be used in the classroom, whether our students are learning face-to-face or virtually. With all the training and support, teachers learned many things. Several of those points were establishing a safe environment. We know that our health protocols are in place, and that establishing a safe environment was top priority. Establishing peer support. And so we know especially part of school is our peer interaction and our positive peer interactions with our students. And so continue to reestablish those peer relationships and interactions with clubs, extracurricular activities, and then just classroom engagement. Support regulation. We worked with our teachers on understanding that anytime that there's a stressful event or a chronic situation, that schedules and routines and consistency is important to help establish a safe environment. So not just the health protocols and safety, but also the environment where we're understanding what's going to happen next each day and provide some consistency. Prioritizing our relationships. So teachers were taught tools and strategies. I do believe our MISD teachers are top notch at prioritizing relationships with their students. We took a deeper dive into what does that look like, especially when we have students who are in a virtual learning environment. So check-in systems and activities to connect. Also identifying, helping our teachers identify behaviors that may warrant a referral to see a counselor or to seek assistance. Creating trust and transparency, so just consistent communication, explaining the why behind certain procedures or protocols is always helpful. So equipping all involved to explain and communicate openly. And then support voice and choice, as well as soliciting feedback from our students, but also supporting their voice of experiences that they maybe have now or have had over the time that we were away. During the school year, campuses will be surveying students using Panorama's social and emotional survey tool so that campuses can identify and measure our students' social emotional learning competencies. So I think this is something that is exciting as we're measuring certain social emotional learning skills in our students, such as growth mindset, self-management, social awareness, self-efficacy, teacher and student relationships, and then sense of belonging. Those results are going to help our campuses target areas of weakness, and we then can use our social emotional learning tools and strategies to drive a decision making for intentional instruction in those areas and assess and make sure we are meeting the needs of our students. Furthermore, we also have our reporting system. We have had this ongoing, but it's just a reminder that our students, we have an outlet for students to report anonymously. So that is See It, Hear It, Stop It, is a place and a tool for students, parents, or community members to provide anonymous tips for various reasons, including but not limited to bullying. Either that's personal reporting or a witness, bullying and cyberbullying, or cyberbullying, personal safety, threats against others or a school facility, reporting a staff member or teacher or student for harassment, or diversity, equity, or discrimination issues. That link is on the district and on our campus websites, and campuses have signs posted with QR codes for our students for easy access. Additionally, our MISD counseling department has planned for the return of our students in many ways. Counselors will offer ongoing face-to-face and virtual counseling and support opportunities provided in a variety of service options. So even though our students we may have some virtual or face-to-face learners, that our counselors are meeting the needs no matter what the setting is. We have our mentoring programs and our community partnerships that will continue, and that will be included to support our social emotional needs of our students. So please do not hesitate to reach out to your campus counselor to discuss the needs of your student so that they can better attend to that. Knowing this pandemic could be identified as a traumatic event, as I mentioned, I want to just go through some tips as a parent for handling behaviors that you may have encountered with your child. Maybe you have not yet, but maybe you've seen some things and you're not sure what it is or how to identify what's going on because maybe the behaviors are new. So when you're thinking about trauma-informed care, a few tips is reframing our minds as not what's wrong with you, but rather what has happened to you, or what are the circumstances in the event. And so trauma impacts our children and the way they view themselves and the world around them. So if you think about the situation that we're in, how they're understanding this pandemic, of course, developmentally, that's going to depend on their age and their level of understanding. But also it can impact their emotions. So you may see reactions in their behavior. It could impact their learning and then their ability to interact with others. So a few things that are noted anytime that there is a stressful event or a traumatic event and it's chronic, sometimes you'll see symptoms that mirror ADHD. And so that's always important, I think, for parents to know that you know, when you're seeing a difference in inattention or detachment or irritability, distractibility or restlessness, maybe impatience, that you have to consider the situation surrounding those circumstances. Is this new, or has this been ongoing? And when did it begin? When we're trying to determine, is it related to maybe a traumatic event? So a few tips on understanding our children and the exposure to this trauma or our global pandemic, which has created really a stressful environment for many, is to try to think about that when you see behaviors that are maybe different than you've seen, that our children are not trying to push your buttons, but rather, if you think about it, they may have impaired reasoning ability. When we're thinking out of our emotional side of our brain, then we may have impaired reasoning. And so that looks like maybe trouble with transitions, forgetting tasks, maybe easily distracted. So a few helpful things that you can do to accommodate is affirm their emotions and their feelings, but then also establish some visual cues potentially, or verbal reminders for your child, and then preparing them in advance. It's always helpful when you tell your child in advance, when you know a schedule is going to change or you foresee something's going to be different, to prepare them. And then that will help with the transitions. Also worry. Children worry quite a bit, and sometimes they don't know how to verbalize that worry, but they're worried about what's going to happen next. As we've seen, the situation that we're in is fluid and changes often. And so that worry may come out in behaviors. So reestablishing your daily routine, no matter what that looks like, ensuring that there's structure and predictability when it's possible. So besides just explaining how the day will unfold, establishing some calendars, alarms, you can set alarms on devices, a schedule, a visual schedule for your child to know this is what is going to happen. That kind of reestablishes their safety. Even if the situation doesn't seem bad to you, it's the child's perception. So this is another point of when we're talking to your child and they are telling you their experiences, is trying not to judge. Often as adults, we may unintentionally project a situation as really not that bad, or maybe you may even say that's not that big of a deal. But however, remembering when the child perceives the event as important, we must remember that it's the perceived loss of control or safety that's causing their response. And so just acknowledging that they're perceiving something may be different from yours. And so establishing how they're experiencing that and helping them verbalize what does that look like. So for example, experiencing a chronic situation, your child may frequently worry about a family being able to to access food or a job. Maybe there's a job loss or a healthcare need, or maybe it's a school situation that when they are worrying about something or they perceive it, getting down to the bottom of what is their perception of that event, and then able to break it down from there. And then I think the last important and most important thing is you don't have to know exactly how to respond to your child. You don't have to know the right words or experience what they're experiencing in order to help. So instead of focusing on specifics, just look for themes. If you continue to see, hurt or anger or fear or worry or helplessness, identifying like, what are those common themes that I continue to see in my child? And then you can always respond with empathy and flexibility. I think that's the most important thing, is looking for things and knowing that I can respond in a different way to that, and then seek assistance if needed. So please, I hope that a few of these things were helpful. Please reach out to your child's counselor if you need assistance or you have questions. As we embark on a new school year, please let us know if there's anything that we can do in addition to the things I've already mentioned. So thank you for your time this afternoon, and I will turn it back over to Dr. Ledbetter.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Wigington. And that's really all we had planned for today. I want her to take just some time to really go through all the aspects of what we're looking for with our kids, and also just to encourage you that if you have a concern, and like she mentioned there at the end, I just want to reiterate, please reach out to your school counselor. We have amazing counselors on each one of our campuses. that are there to serve you and serve your child and will help you in any way. So please reach out to them if you have any concerns. Obviously, the social emotional needs of our children are as important as we talk a lot about the physical safety of our campuses, but the social emotional need and that aspect of it is just as important, if not more important. And so we do invest a lot of time and energy into this and training our staff and making sure that they know what to look for. And Ms. Wigington does an excellent job in working with our teachers, with our counselors, and with everyone to make sure that we're meeting our kids' needs. So that concludes our session for today. I'm certain that I haven't checked to see if there's any comments or questions throughout this session, but hopefully we have staff that's answering questions as we go through there. And like I said at the beginning, if we have themes that we need to address as a whole, as a district, then we will get that out there as well. So thank you very much for joining us, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.